Most people approach change the wrong way. They focus on what they need to do. They look at successful people, pick apart their routines, and try to copy their habits. They start waking up at 5 a.m., drinking green smoothies, reading 10 pages of a book every day, and exercising religiously. But then something strange happens. A few weeks in, they start making excuses, and before they know it, they're back where they started, stuck in the same cycle of wanting change, but never truly achieving it. Why does this happen? Because they never ask the most important question. Why? You see, habits don't stick just because they're good for you. They don't last just because they work for someone else. They last when they are rooted in something deeper, when they are fueled by a purpose that is stronger than the discomfort of change. Think about the last time you really committed to something. Maybe it was a career decision, maybe it was a fitness goal, maybe it was a relationship. The things we truly commit to in life are the things that are connected to something bigger than us. We show up for the things that matter. And this is where most people go wrong. They try to create habits based on logic, not purpose. They say, I should eat healthier, I should work harder, I should be more disciplined. But should is weak. Should doesn't inspire action. Should doesn't change lives. The people who create lasting change, the people who truly transform their lives, don't do things because they should, they do things because they must. Because there is something in their life so deeply important to them that not changing is simply not an option. Let me tell you a story. There was a man who wanted to quit smoking. He had tried everything, nicotine patches, therapy, even hypnosis. Nothing worked. Every time he tried to quit, he would last a few days, maybe a week, but then he'd be back to his old habits. Then one day something changed. He went to the doctor and found out that if he didn't stop smoking immediately, he might not live to see his daughter's high school graduation. That was the moment everything shifted. He didn't need nicotine patches. He didn't need motivation. He didn't need willpower. He had something far more powerful, a why. From that day forward, quitting wasn't about avoiding cigarettes. It was about being there for his daughter. It was about walking her down the aisle one day. It was about living long enough to meet his grandchildren. That was his why. And because of that, he never touched another cigarette again. This is the key to habits that last. You don't need more discipline. You don't need more motivation. You need a reason strong enough that failure is no longer an option. So before you start trying to change your life, before you start adding new habits, stop, take a step back, ask yourself, why do I want this? Because here's the truth. If your reason is weak, your habit will be weak. If your why is unclear, your commitment will be unclear. Think about the most successful people in any field. They all have something in common. It's not just that they work hard. It's not just that they're disciplined. It's that they are driven by something bigger than themselves. Athletes don't wake up at 4 a.m. to train because they feel like it. They do it because they are chasing something that means everything to them. Entrepreneurs don't work 16-hour days just for fun. They do it because they believe in something so strongly that stopping is unthinkable. And here's the good news. You don't have to be an athlete. You don't have to be an entrepreneur. But you do have to have a reason. So if you're trying to change your life, if you're trying to build habits that last, don't start by asking what you need to do. Start by asking why you need to do it. Because when you have a strong enough why, the how takes care of itself. Think about someone who wakes up early every morning to work on their dream. It's not because they like waking up early, it's because their dream is more important than their comfort. Think about someone who eats healthy and exercises every day. It's not because they love dieting, it's because they value their health more than the temporary pleasure of junk food. People who succeed don't have superhuman willpower. They don't have some secret formula that the rest of us don't. They simply have a reason so strong that failure is not an option. So let me ask you again, what's your why? Because until you answer that question, no habit will stick, no change will last. If you want to wake up earlier, ask yourself why. If you want to start reading more, ask yourself why. If you want to be more disciplined, ask yourself why. Because when your reason is strong enough, your habits will follow. I don't care how many times you've failed before. I don't care how many times you've tried and fallen back into old patterns. If you've struggled to make changes in your life, it's not because you're lazy, it's not because you lack discipline, it's because you haven't found the right reason yet. And here's the secret. The right reason is never external. It's never about impressing other people. It's never about looking good on social media. It's about something deeper, something personal, something that makes you feel something. So before you do anything else today, before you go back to your routine, take 5 minutes, sit down, be honest with yourself. Ask yourself why you want to change. And don't stop until you find an answer that moves you. Most people believe that massive change requires massive action. They think that in order to transform their lives, they need to do something drastic, quit their job, move to a new city, overhaul their entire routine overnight. And because that level of change feels overwhelming, they never start. They stay stuck in the same place, waiting for the perfect moment to make a big move. But here's the truth. Change doesn't come from giant leaps. It comes from small, consistent actions repeated every single day. The most successful people in the world understand this. They don't focus on doing one big thing. They focus on doing small things consistently. They don't try to change everything at once. They commit to tiny improvements, knowing that over time, those improvements will compound into something extraordinary. Most people underestimate the power of small wins. They think that reading 5 pages a day isn't enough, so they don't read at all. They think that a 10-minute workout won't make a difference, so they stay on the couch. They think that saving $5 a day is meaningless, so they spend it instead. But what they don't realize is that every great achievement is built on a foundation of tiny, seemingly insignificant actions. Think about a drop of water hitting a rock. 1 drop does nothing, 10 drops do nothing, but over time, those drops wear down the rock, shaping it into something completely different. And that's how change works. That's how habits work. It's not about what you do once, it's about what you do consistently every single day. Imagine 2 people standing at the starting line of a race. One person sprints as fast as they can for the first 10 seconds. Then gets tired and stops. The other person starts slow, moving steadily forward step by step. Who wins? The person who kept going. The person who understood that progress isn't about speed, it's about consistency. This is why most people fail to build lasting habits. They start with too much intensity. They tell themselves they're going to go to the gym for 2 hours every day, meditate for an hour every morning, and cut out all sugar and processed food. And for the first few days they do it, they feel motivated, they feel unstoppable. But then life happens. They miss one workout, they eat one unhealthy meal. And because their expectation was perfection, they quit entirely. But the people who succeed take a different approach. They start small. They commit to just 5 minutes of exercise, just 1 page of reading, just 1 tiny step forward. And because the goal is small, it's easy to stick with. And once they master that small habit, they naturally start doing more. 5 minutes turns into 10. 1 page turns into 10. 1 small win leads to another and another and another. And before they know it, they've completely transformed their life. The key to lasting change is momentum. And the best way to build momentum is to start with something so small that failure is impossible. Because here's what happens when you start small. You prove to yourself that you are capable, and that belief, that confidence, is what creates real, lasting transformation. There's a story about a man who wanted to lose weight. He had tried everything: strict diets, intense workouts, extreme routines, but nothing stuck. Every time he tried to change, he would last a few weeks and then fall back into old habits. Then one day, he decided to try something different. Instead of committing to an hour at the gym, he committed to just 5 minutes. That was it. 5 minutes of movement every day. It seemed too small to matter, but that was the point. Because 5 minutes was easy, he did it every day. And once he was already moving, 5 minutes often turned into 10, then 15. Before he knew it, he wasn't just working out, he was living a completely different lifestyle. Not because he forced himself to, but because he built momentum. He created a habit that felt effortless. And once that habit was part of his identity, it became second nature. Most people believe they need motivation to change, but motivation is unreliable. Some days you feel inspired, some days you don't. And if your success depends on motivation, you'll never be consistent. What you need is momentum. And momentum starts with small wins. Think about a plane taking off. The hardest part isn't staying in the air, it's getting off the ground. It takes the most energy to get from 0 to 1, but once you're moving, staying in motion becomes easy. The same is true for habits. The hardest part isn't doing the thing, it's starting. That's why the best strategy for change is to make the starting point so small that resistance disappears. Instead of committing to writing a book, commit to writing one sentence. Instead of committing to a 30-minute meditation, commit to taking one deep breath. Instead of committing to running 5 miles, commit to putting on your running shoes. Because once you take that first step, the second step feels natural, and then the third, and then the fourth, and before you know it, you're moving, you're changing. And you didn't need motivation to do it, you just needed to start. This is how real change happens, not through willpower, not through massive effort, but through small, consistent actions that compound over time. The problem is that most people never give themselves the chance to see the results. They get discouraged when they don't see immediate progress. They don't realize that success isn't linear, it's exponential. The first few weeks of change might feel slow, even pointless, but just like a snowball rolling downhill, momentum builds, and suddenly what once felt impossible becomes effortless. There's a rule called the 1% rule. It states that if you improve just 1% every day, by the end of the year, you'll be 37 times better than you were when you started. That's the power of small wins. That's the power of compounding. The difference between success and failure isn't about making huge changes overnight. It's about making small changes consistently. So if you want to change your life, stop looking for big wins. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop thinking you need to do something drastic. Instead, ask yourself, what is the smallest step I can take today? Because success isn't about what you do once. It's about what you do every single day. And when you master the art of small, consistent progress, you can achieve anything. Most people believe that success comes from the right strategy, the perfect routine, or the best plan. They spend years searching for the right workout program, the most efficient productivity hack, or the ultimate roadmap to success. And while tactics matter, they are not the determining factor. The truth is, your mindset shapes your reality far more than any strategy ever will. You see, two people can follow the exact same plan, yet get completely different results. One person thrives while the other struggles. One stays consistent while the other gives up. Why? It's not about the plan, it's about the way they think. Because the way you see the world determines the way you act in it. Most people approach habits with the wrong mindset. They think, I have to do this, I have to wake up early, I have to exercise, I have to work hard. But the people who succeed don't think that way. They think, I get to do this. I get to wake up early because I'm chasing something important. I get to exercise because I'm building a stronger version of myself. I get to work hard because I'm creating a life that excites me. And that shift from obligation to opportunity changes everything, because the truth is nothing in life is truly a have to. You don't have to eat healthy. You don't have to work on your dreams. You don't have to become disciplined, but if you want a better life, you get to. And when you reframe your habits in that way, discipline stops feeling like a chore, it becomes a privilege. Your mindset determines whether challenges break you or build you. Every obstacle you face can be seen in two ways, as a reason to quit or as an opportunity to grow. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't intelligence. It's not talent, it's not luck, it's the ability to see obstacles as fuel rather than roadblocks. Think about someone who wants to start a business but keeps failing. The person with the wrong mindset will say, maybe I'm just not cut out for this. They'll see failure as proof that they should quit. But the person with the right mindset will ask, what can I learn from this? They'll see failure as feedback, and that perspective, more than any strategy, determines whether or not they'll succeed in the end. This is why some people go through hardships and come out stronger, while others go through the same hardships and come out broken. It's not the situation that determines the outcome, it's the story you tell yourself about that situation. If you believe failure is final, you'll stop trying. If you believe failure is just a stepping stone, you'll keep moving forward. And the people who keep moving forward always win in the end. Think about two people who both want to get in shape. One sees exercise as punishment. They think of it as suffering. Every workout feels like a burden. And because of that, they struggle to stay consistent. But the other person sees exercise as self-respect. They see it as an act of care. Every time they work out, They reinforce the belief that they are someone who values their body. And because of that, they stay consistent without even thinking about it. The difference isn't the workout routine, it's the mindset. And that mindset determines everything. This is why willpower is never the solution. Most people rely on willpower to force themselves to do the things they don't want to do. But the real key is to change the way you see those things so that you want to do them in the first place. When you genuinely believe that a habit is serving you, you won't need to force yourself to do it. It will become something you naturally choose. Let's take waking up early as an example. Someone with the wrong mindset sees it as torture. They tell themselves, I hate waking up early. So every morning when the alarm goes off, their brain resists. But someone with the right mindset tells themselves, every time I wake up early, I'm getting ahead of the world. Every time I wake up early, I'm proving to myself that I'm in control of my day. And because of that, they don't have to fight themselves to get up. They've trained their mind to want it. The same applies to every habit. If you see discipline as something restrictive, you'll resist it. If you see it as something that gives you freedom, you'll embrace it. If you see learning as a chore, you'll avoid it. If you see it as an investment in your future, you'll crave it. The way you frame your habits determines whether or not you stick with them. This is why your thoughts are the foundation of your success. If you believe that change is hard, it will be. If you believe that you're someone who always fails, you'll find ways to prove yourself right. But if you believe that growth is natural, that setbacks are part of the process, and that discipline is a sign of self-respect, then habits stop feeling like a struggle. They become second nature. There's a reason why some people seem to succeed effortlessly. It's not because they were born different. It's because their internal dialogue is different. Instead of saying, I can't do this, they say, I haven't figured it out yet. Instead of saying, I'm not good at this, they say, I'm getting better every day. Instead of saying, I don't feel like it today, they say, this is what I do no matter how I feel. And that shift changes everything. Because at the end of the day, habits are not about what you do. They are about who you believe you are. Someone who believes they are an athlete will naturally exercise. Someone who believes they are a leader will naturally take action. Someone who believes they are disciplined will naturally follow through. So if you want to change your habits, don't just change your actions, change your identity. Stop thinking of yourself as someone who wants to be successful and start seeing yourself as someone who is successful. Stop thinking of yourself as someone who tries to be disciplined, because once you believe something about yourself, your actions will always align with that belief. This is why success isn't about tactics. It's not about the perfect morning routine, the best workout plan, or the most efficient schedule. It's about how you think. It's about how you see yourself. It's about whether you approach life with a mindset that lifts you up or holds you back. So if you take nothing else from this, remember this. Your habits follow your identity. Your actions follow your thoughts. If you want to change your life, start by changing your mindset. Because once you do that, everything else falls into place. Most people assume that success is determined by big defining moments. They think that a single breakthrough, a lucky break, or a dramatic change will be the reason they finally achieve their goals. But real success, lasting success, isn't built in a day. It's built in the tiny, seemingly insignificant moments that happen when no one is watching. It's built in the discipline of showing up day after day, long before the results ever appear. The difference between people who succeed and people who don't isn't intelligence, talent, or even resources. It's patience. It's the ability to stick with something long enough for it to work. It's the ability to keep going when progress is invisible, when results are slow, and when quitting would be the easier option. Most people struggle because they expect instant results. They start working out and expect to see a six-pack in a few weeks. They start reading and expect to be a genius in a month. They start a business and expect to be successful overnight. And when that doesn't happen, they assume they're failing. They assume they're not good enough. They assume that if results aren't immediate, they never will be. So they quit and they start something else. And the cycle repeats. But the people who succeed play a different game. They understand that progress isn't linear. They understand that success doesn't happen in a straight, predictable line. Instead, it follows the pattern of the compound effect. Small, consistent actions that build up over time, eventually leading to massive transformation. Imagine two people who decide to improve their health. One person goes on a crash diet hoping for rapid results. They make drastic changes, cut out everything they enjoy, and push themselves to the limit. For a few weeks, they see results, but because their approach is extreme, they can't sustain it. Eventually, they burn out, return to their old habits, and end up right where they started, sometimes even worse. The other person takes a different approach. They don't try to change everything at once. They focus on small, sustainable changes, eating a little healthier, moving a little more, drinking more water. At first, the progress is invisible. The scale barely moves. But they keep going, and because their habits are manageable, they don't quit. A few months later, they've lost weight effortlessly. A year later, they've completely transformed. And the best part? Because the habits were built gradually, they're permanent. This is the power of patience. Most people give up when they don't see immediate progress, not realizing that the biggest changes happen beneath the surface before they become visible. It's like planting a seed. You water it every day, but for a long time, nothing happens. No growth, no sign of success. But what you don't see is that beneath the soil, the roots are spreading, strengthening, preparing for the moment when the plant finally breaks through. Most people quit before that breakthrough happens. They assume that because they can't see progress, it doesn't exist. But those who keep going understand that success is always happening in the background, even when it seems like nothing is changing. This applies to every area of life. Think about learning a skill. When you first start, it feels impossible. You struggle, you make mistakes, and progress feels painfully slow. Most people assume this means they're not naturally talented and quit. But those who stick with it understand that skill building follows an exponential curve. At first, growth is almost imperceptible, but if you keep going, something magical happens. One day, all those hours of effort suddenly click into place. What once felt difficult becomes effortless. What once seemed impossible becomes second nature. The same principle applies to building wealth. Most people believe that wealth is created through a big windfall, winning the lottery, landing a dream job, getting a lucky break. But real wealth is built gradually, through consistent savings, wise investments, and disciplined spending. The first few years, the progress is slow, but over time, as investments compound, the growth becomes exponential. Those who were patient wake up one day to financial freedom. Those who chased quick fixes are still struggling. Patience isn't just about waiting, it's about trusting the process. It's about understanding that just because you can't see immediate results doesn't mean nothing is happening. It's about showing up every day, putting in the work, and knowing that success is inevitable if you stay consistent. Most people don't fail because they lack ability. They fail because they lack staying power. They give up on their diet the moment they hit a plateau. They abandon their business the second it stops growing. They quit practicing when they don't improve fast enough. But if they had just kept going a little longer, if they had trusted the process, they would have seen the breakthrough they were waiting for. There's a concept called the valley of disappointment. It describes the gap between effort and results. When you start something new, your expectations are high. You assume progress will be fast. But reality is different. At first, the effort you put in doesn't match the results you see. This is the valley where most people give up. But those who push through, those who keep going when results are invisible, eventually reach a point where everything changes, where all the hard work pays off, and success comes faster than they ever imagined. This is why patience is the ultimate advantage, because most people quit too soon. The ones who stick with it inevitably rise to the top, not because they're the best, not because they're the smartest, but because they refuse to give up when everyone else did. Success is never about talent alone. It's about endurance. It's about showing up day after day, even when it feels like nothing is happening. It's about playing the long game while everyone else is chasing quick wins. If you want to change your life, commit to patience, commit to consistency. Stop looking for shortcuts and start focusing on what actually works. Small daily actions repeated over time. Stop expecting immediate gratification and start embracing the process. The best things in life take time. The strongest relationships aren't built overnight. The greatest skills aren't mastered in a week. The most successful people didn't get there in a month. They played the long game. They stayed patient. They kept going long after everyone else had quit. And that's the difference. Not luck, not talent, not intelligence, just persistence, just patience, just the willingness to trust the process, even when it feels like nothing is happening. Because in the end, Success isn't about who starts the fastest. It's about who keeps going the longest. And the ones who keep going are always the ones who win. Most people want to change their lives, but they wait for the perfect moment. They tell themselves they'll start when they feel ready, when they have more time, when their circumstances improve. But waiting for the right time is the fastest way to stay exactly where you are. The truth is, you will never feel completely ready. You will never have all the answers. You will never have perfect conditions. And if you wait for those things, you'll spend your entire life waiting. The people who change their lives are the ones who start before they're ready. They take action even when they don't have all the information. They move forward even when they feel uncertain. They understand that progress isn't made by thinking about it, it's made by doing. Most people believe that clarity comes before action. They think, once I figure everything out, then I'll start. But in reality, the opposite is true. Action creates clarity. You don't get clear by waiting. You get clear by doing. Every step forward teaches you something new. Every mistake reveals the next move. Every challenge forces you to adapt. The only way to truly figure things out is to start moving. Think about learning to swim. You can read every book on technique, watch every video on form, and study every expert, but none of that will actually make you a swimmer. The only way to learn is to get in the water. It will be messy at first, you'll struggle, you'll make mistakes, but through those mistakes, you'll figure it out. The same principle applies to everything in life. You don't become confident by waiting to feel confident. You become confident by taking action even when you feel unsure. You don't become successful by waiting for the perfect plan. You become successful by starting before the plan is complete. Most people avoid action because they're afraid of failing. They think, what if I make the wrong choice? What if I waste my time? What if I embarrass myself? But the truth is, failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of success. No one gets it right on the first try. No one achieves greatness without stumbling along the way. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't the absence of failure, it's the willingness to fail forward. Look at any successful person and you'll see a pattern. They didn't wait until they were ready. They started before they had all the answers. They failed, they adjusted, they learned. And through that process, they figured out what worked. Think about someone who wants to start a business. Most people spend years researching, planning, and overthinking. They tell themselves they need more experience, more money, more certainty. And because of that, they never actually start. Meanwhile, someone else takes action immediately. They don't have all the answers, but they launch anyway. They make mistakes. They adjust. And by the time the first person is still thinking about starting, the second person has already built something real. The same principle applies to relationships. Many people hesitate to meet new people or put themselves out there because they're afraid of rejection. They wait until they feel completely secure. But confidence doesn't come from waiting. It comes from acting despite fear. Every interaction, every experience, every moment outside your comfort zone builds confidence. Think about fitness. The hardest part isn't the workout itself, it's getting started. Most people wait until they feel motivated to exercise, but motivation is unreliable. If you wait to feel like it, you'll never do it. The key is to take action first and let motivation follow. The moment you start moving, the resistance disappears. And the more you take action, the easier it becomes. The reality is, perfection is an illusion. No matter how much you prepare, you'll never have complete certainty. No matter how much you analyze, you'll never predict every outcome. But none of that matters. What matters is that you start anyway. Starting before you're ready isn't reckless, it's necessary. Because readiness is a byproduct of action. You don't wait to feel ready to take action. You take action. And that's what makes you ready. Most people never start because they overthink everything. They analyze every possible outcome, they get stuck in what-if scenarios, and they let fear paralyze them. But the problem with overthinking is that it leads to inaction. And inaction leads to regret. The greatest regrets in life aren't from the things we tried and failed, they're from the things we never tried at all. There's a concept called the 80% rule. It says that you should take action when you feel 80% ready. If you wait for 100% certainty, you'll never start. And the truth is, the last 20% is something you can only figure out by doing. Think about someone who wants to become a speaker. They can spend years studying public speaking techniques, practicing in front of a mirror, and memorizing scripts. But the only way to truly become a great speaker is to stand in front of an audience. The real learning happens on stage, not in theory. Think about learning a language. You can spend months memorizing vocabulary, studying grammar, and watching lessons, but the only way to truly become fluent is to speak. You'll make mistakes, you'll sound awkward, but through those mistakes you'll learn far faster than if you had waited. This is why the most successful people aren't necessarily the smartest or the most talented. They're the ones who take action first. They figure things out along the way. They trust themselves to adapt. And because of that, they move forward while everyone else is stuck waiting. The key to changing your life isn't waiting for confidence, clarity, or the perfect plan. It's taking imperfect action. It's starting before you're ready. It's making mistakes and learning as you go. The best time to start was yesterday. The second best time is right now. Every moment you delay is a moment you could have spent growing, learning, and improving. Every day you wait is a day you'll never get back. If you want to change your life, stop waiting, stop overthinking, stop looking for guarantees. Just start. Start messy, start unsure, start unprepared, but start, because once you do, you'll realize something powerful. You were always more ready than you thought.